Hello guys, welcome back to Tierspec TV and welcome back to Garage Talk, our podcast discussion news show thing that is not set in a garage despite the title of Garage Talk. We are in fact in a room, a studio that is definitely not a bedroom at all in any way, shape or form. But on Garage Talk we talk about any kind of car related news, but mainly focusing on 4x4s, Land Rovers, etc. and also anything that you guys want to send us in, on trips you've been on, projects you're working on, and so on and so forth. We revealed the engine for the Creeper. We did since last time. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but we revealed the engine for the Creeper, and I was quite positively surprised, like pleasantly surprised by the reaction. I thought it was going to be more negative.
Yeah.
And people got quite hyped.
They did. But so you can divide into two groups. And one's just like, oh, diesel, Cummins best, and blah blah blah. And then we got like, wow, that's a pretty cool idea.
But I think even the ones who expected like a diesel or a Cummins or something, they were still personally the ones that it was kind of, for me it was like positive and negative. They were like the ones who were just like, wow, this is cool, it's never been done before. And then there was just the group who was just like, this is ridiculous. This is stupidest thing you've ever done. And it is the stupidest thing we've ever done. Yeah. We haven't even done it yet, basically. That's the point. But I was pleasantly surprised, and I don't think anyone apart from like the two people that guessed it saw it coming. So that was quite entertaining. I thought it was quite funny when we presented the whole thing as like, we're making this performance-focused series that's going to have stupid amount of power, and then we asked people for guesses, and they'd be like, is it a 200 TDI? And like, nope. Like, why would we hype this up with this much and then get a 200 TDI which makes less power than like either of our cars? Yeah. So yes, we revealed the engine for the Creeper. If you are not following that, that is our Land Rover Series 3 project where we're sticking a ridiculous engine into a vehicle that should not have that much power, and we're a few episodes in now. Previously we revealed the engine, and we just filmed, actually, I don't know whether it's out yet, but we just filmed an update talking about how far we've come and what is to come for the rest of the year for that project. Anyway, let's get into the news for this week, and there's a lot of like 4x4, well, I guess it's kind of what we talk about anyway, but I think there's a lot of interesting stuff in the 4x4 world and a lot in Land Rover, and I don't know if you've seen this, the Suzuki Jimny?
The Suzuki Jimny.
Have you seen the new one?
Yeah. I've seen it everywhere on Facebook.
Yeah. Thoughts?
I think it's a pretty cool looking thing, but still, it's a Suzuki, it's not a Land Rover. But
exactly. It's basically just put a Land Rover badge on that, put Defender badge. But if you don't know Suzuki, the Suzuki Jimny is it's Suzuki's tiny Japanese SUV, not SUV, 4x4, and it's, as far as I know, I've never driven one. But as far as I'm aware, they're actually quite like renowned. Yeah. They're quite popular. They are quite. And even among Land Rover circles, they have got quite a lot of respect. But I think they're pretty like rugged, similar like philosophy to the Defender. They're pretty rugged, bare bones, no nonsense, kind of little 4x4. And of course, you get that with Japanese reliability. So they're pretty well renowned. But basically, Suzuki has just revealed the successor to the Jimny, the latest version, and it basically just looks like a modern version. Almost looks like a mini sort of Mercedes G-Wagon in a way. It does. And but the thing is here that a lot of people have compared this to the Defender because it's kind of in the same class as a Defender. That a lot of people are saying, well, why isn't the new Defender just like, why can't it just be like this? And the thing is, we don't know at the moment. Like, for all we know, it could be like a more stylish, updated, modern version of the previous Defender. Seeing this Suzuki kind of excites me because it kind of gives me an idea of what the Defender could look like in a way, and I think that's quite cool because I quite like this thing. I think it's quite fun. Yeah. It excites me and it scares me because it also scares me that it might not be anything like this.
No. It could be looking like the Freelander or something with very like rounded shapes and not very box looking, which is kind of what I see from a Defender.
Yeah, but I really like this. It'd be interesting to see if they're popular in the kind of agricultural world, or whether there's old Defender owners going to this instead of the new Defender. But I really like it, and I would love to have a go. I think it'd be so fun to try one of those off-road if we could at some point. I would absolutely love to do that. It looks really cool. So well done, Suzuki, for that. So we all know the Spectre Defender. They've kind of spawned like so many companies now which are recreating it as well. But if you want to own one of the original Spectre Defenders, which I think there were only about 3 or 5 of or something made for the movie, or maybe it was more, but it was like a very, very limited number. But basically one of them just came up for auction, and it sold for £365,000 for a Defender. I think the only Defender I know of that beat that was the 2 millionth, which sold for £400,000, I think. But this is probably easily one of the most expensive Defenders ever made. But would you pay that? No.
You could buy a stock Defender and make it look like that for less than what you could buy for it.
And our good friends over at Tweaked Automotive, they make these exact things, like just identical replicas of these basically, but for I imagine, I don't know how much they cost, but I imagine a much cheaper price. Because if not, like you said, you could just go out and buy a 110 like that, and you could put any engine you wanted in it. So you could have a TD5 or a V8 or whatever, you could swap something else in, and then you could just make it look like that.
And you would still be within that price range of 365,000.
Yeah, you could build something. Yeah, because you could put an LS or something in it for that money, easily. You could build something way... I mean, I don't know how much they've had tweaked, but I know they're Puma engined, but they've been remapped, so they have a bit more power. And then they have I think they have, obviously updated suspension and lift kit and all that stuff to cope with how big it is, basically. But there's no denying they look awesome, and I would love to have one. But £365,000. I think the thing is that it depends, because if you're like a die-hard Land Rover enthusiast or a die-hard James Bond enthusiast, then you might want it for your collection. It's like a limited thing. And if anyone actually cares, it comes with the license plate 0007 SVX. So it's kind of 007 SVX, if you like. If you had like limitless amounts of money, you were Bill Gates, and they came up for auction, would you just go like, I'll have that?
Yeah, I'll probably do that.
You would?
Just because I can watch the film and say, that's my car, right there.
It's true. So, I don't know, it's kind of a tough one, but if I was going to have a Defender that was that beefy anyway, I'd probably want an LS engine or something like that in it, or a Cummins, not a Puma. As good as the Puma engine is, I want something with a bit more beef.
Yeah.
I know that there's another YouTuber called Harry's Garage, I think it's called, who he previously, I think he founded Evo Car Magazine, and now he does video reviews on YouTube of cars, and he has quite an amazing collection of cars himself. And I believe, I don't know if he still has it, but he did at least have one of these Spectre Defenders, and he had like one of the actual ones from the movie, one of his own. And he said in the video, and perhaps this one is different, but I'm pretty sure he said in his video that they're not. You can't make them road legal because they've been like modified so much for the movie that you can't actually get them made road legal because they have so many movie specific modifications. So that's another like issue, is that's. I think this one is road legal because it has a license. It comes with the license plate if you buy it. So I think it must be road legal. But if you had one of the other ones which they auctioned off and isn't road legal, then like it's a hell of a lot of money to have a Defender you can't use. Like you want to have a lot of land.
Yeah.
Like if you had something like the space we have, then maybe you could justify it, but you still have to have a lot of money to justify it.
Yeah.
So it's one hell of a toy.
Gotta have like a museum or something as well, and a lot of land to drive on.
Yeah.
And have some rich tourist that wants to come and see it and drive it. Otherwise than that, I wouldn't see any purpose of
you just build your own one, and you could have any colour you want. You could have whatever seats you want. You could have you could personalise it to your taste. Assuming you didn't want an identical replica. Yes, the Billing Off-Road show, which was about a month ago, maybe something like that. At least in the summer months, it was the Billing Off-Road show, which is one of the big Land Rover shows that go on throughout the year, among a few others. And there was an attempt to break the world record for the longest Land Rover convoy in the world. And I think the previous record was like 600, low 600s set in Germany. And 908 Land Rovers turned up for this. And a convoy of 908 vehicles. However, they say that there were strict rules about what constitutes this convoy, and the vehicles must be, I think it was like 2 car lengths apart or something, and there were some other rules. And basically, I don't know quite how this works, I think it's quite bizarre, but out of 908, only 640 qualified. So they did actually break the record by 8 cars, or 8 Land Rovers, but about 300 or so didn't count, which is kind of bizarre. But either way, like, congratulations to everyone involved for breaking or setting a new record. Kind of a shame about whatever happened to the other 300. I don't know what happened. I don't know how picky they are about measuring the distance between vehicles. But I would have loved to be a part of this. I think it would have been such a cool thing. And like, if we could have gone and filmed that, that many Land Rovers, I just hope that it was well documented. I know I saw some cool pictures on Instagram, for example. Speaking of Land Rovers, once again, we have this Range Rover Classic, which, although looks like a completely stock, original, restored Range Rover Classic, is not. It is actually an electric Range Rover Classic. And before we get into this at all, would you buy or drive, say, like a classic car, in this case the Range Rover Classic, if it was electrified, and use it? If it was electrified, no. I was expecting more conversation rather than a straight up no, but okay, fair enough. But this is quite cool. And it's a really broad topic, I think, in the world of cars and car enthusiasts. And it's not just Land Rovers, it's all kinds of classic cars. I know it's been done with an E-Type, Jaguar E-Type, Porsche 911, and now Range Rover, and I think there's others as well, but it's becoming bigger and bigger. But this Range Rover Classic has been converted to be a fully electric car, and it actually uses the same battery packs as the Tesla Model S P85, as it says here, which is the same as we drove on the channel like years ago.
Yeah.
We did a video on a Tesla Model S, and it's so same basically powertrain, and it has all of these batteries, I think, in the bonnet or the engine bay where the engine would normally be, and possibly along the bottom. I'm not quite sure. I mean, I think it goes both ways, because I think it's really cool. Because you don't have to worry about fuel, because a 3.5 litre V8 Range Rover is not going to be fuel efficient. You don't have to worry about reliability. And like, you've got a Range Rover Classic, or any classic car you want, and you could basically use it every single day as much as you want, because you don't have the same reliability issues, you don't have the same fuel economy issues, you don't have the general issues with the classic car and having an old engine. You could just use this as much as you wanted, as long as you look after the rest of the car, obviously, and make sure it doesn't rust or anything. Then you've got a Range Rover Classic you can use for anything, and it's got the torque and the power of an electric motor.
Yeah.
So you're still not convinced?
I think it would be fun to try, but really, when you buy an old machine like that, it's also about the mechanics and the gearbox and everything, the sound it makes and that sort of thing. I couldn't imagine driving an old one which was supposed to be a V8, but when you put the foot down, nothing happens. It's like...
Yeah, I completely agree.
The smoke and the smell of petrol.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's cool, like I said, to have a classic car like this you could use as much as you want, but I agree that I think you would miss something a huge amount if you don't have that smell, that sound and everything. It kind of takes away from it a bit. So I'm not sure personally how I'd own one, but I think it's really cool that they're doing this, and it's like an interesting way of preserving these cars. And yeah, like I said, would love to try it. It's one of those things I'm not sure I could say until I tried it, but it's just an interesting topic, and it'd be interesting to see where it goes. And because if it's a way to kind of preserve some classic cars, then I think that's kind of cool as well. If we see more classic cars driving out on the road again, because they're electric, I think it'd be quite cool, because people aren't afraid to drive them, or they're not expensive or whatever, or sort of polluting. What have we got next? Yes, new Defender is rumoured to be built in Slovakia. Basically, Land Rover are in the process of constructing a new factory in Slovakia, which they are talking about moving, I think it was the Discovery or the Discovery Sport production to there. And then there's also rumours that the Defender could also be produced over there. But my point here is, because it's built in another country, whether that be Slovakia or anywhere in the world, does it make it not British anymore? Does it take away from the kind of pride factor? Because I know there's a lot of people that love the fact that, like, I'm driving something that's British and it's British engineering and it's built in Britain and whatever. Does that take away from it, do you think? Because I think they have a manufacturing plant in China as well now.
Yeah, I think a bit, really, because all the stories start in England and now they're kind of like moving it around. And just the thought of that, it's not, like British hands touching it, but still all the designs and all the plans come from Britain. So I'm just kind of a bit divided there from what's like to like or not.
And that's kind of my opinion as well, because for me it's like, it is a bit of a shame, but at the same time, with the way the world is and the global economy and everything, it's kind of, it is the way the world is going, and so many countries now around the world are so international. You go to countries and there's people of all kind of different nationalities there, so they're not necessarily how they were. It's not like how the world was 100 years ago, and like you said, the most important thing for me at least is that these cars are still designed and tested in whatever country they come from, so the UK, or they were designed in the UK and they get tested all over the world, obviously in different conditions, but they were designed in that country, and the parts can still come from there, and the philosophy is still the same, from the same brand, it still has the same badge. It's just basically all the parts are being put together in a different place, so it doesn't bother me that much. I mean, if the product is still has the same quality, still has the same philosophy, and everything else, then I don't really care, to be quite honest. And I just think it's the way the world's going, and when we have things like Brexit, and I don't want to get into the political side of things on here, but when we have situations like Brexit, it is forcing, I think, brand or organisations to move abroad with costs. And if you're a business, as much as any company can talk about how they care about their customer and they care about quality and everything, at the end of the day, the majority of businesses are just there to make money. Because a business cannot survive without making money. It's just the way the world is. So whether you like it or not, as much as you can be enthusiastic about a company like we are about Land Rover, at the end of the day they are there to make money, because without making money they wouldn't be there. That's just the way the world works, basically. So personally I don't have a problem with it. I know some people do, and I hope it doesn't turn off a lot of long-term Land Rover fans if this does go this way, which I think it will, to be quite honest. But I think other car manufacturers are doing it. I think the other thing is that with a lot of companies, they kind of mix and match parts. Like I know, like Tesla uses Mercedes parts, and Aston Martin is now using Mercedes parts. Like Aston Martin is now partnered with Mercedes, and they're using Mercedes engines. For example, Rolls-Royce uses a lot of BMW parts. Like, I think there's so much kind of mixing and matching now among the car world, which I don't think is a bad thing, because German cars are very good at one thing, English cars are very good at one thing, American cars are very good at one thing, etc. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think you just get the best of both worlds, and like I said, as long as it's still the same philosophy behind that vehicle or brand you have, then what's not to love. So moving on to the last couple of things. Now, this is already getting exciting. This picture I'll put up on the screen. This I absolutely love. Not a Land Rover, but it does begin with L and A, I suppose. So almost the same. But Lamborghini quite recently unveiled their first. Well, I mean, it depends whether you count the original LM002 SUV, but this is their first kind of proper commercial SUV, I suppose you could say. But the Lamborghini Urus, which I still find a slightly odd name, like they said on the Grand Tour, every time I hear the Lamborghini Urus sounds like some kind of infection you get. Like, it's just like, oh, I've got a problem with my Urus. It's just like, doesn't sound right, doesn't sound... Anyway, moving on. Yeah, the Lamborghini Urus is Lamborghini's first modern SUV, and this is purely a render. It's not real, sadly. But basically, someone came up with a render. I think it's by this Gabe Design on Instagram. That's where I found it. So credit to him, unless it's someone else, I apologise. But this is basically a render of a Lamborghini Urus being made into a pickup truck as opposed to an SUV. And I think it looks so cool.
It does.
I think it looks so mean. And if you had I think it's like 600 or something horsepower V8, Lamborghini V8 in there. And you've got it's got chunky tyres, it's got the aggressive looks, you've got a pickup back, four-door. I think that's so cool. I think that's so cool. Unfortunately, it would almost certainly never get made, at least not by Lamborghini, because it doesn't go at all with their their design language or anything. It doesn't go with the philosophy of their brand. But I want one so much. And it's one of those things that if I had £1 billion right now, I might go and ask someone to build it for me, because I think it's so badass. So someone please make that. Or can you imagine being made into like a Dakar rally thing. That'd be quite cool. Someone could build that. If there are any billionaires out there who quite kind of fancy a Lamborghini rally racer, then please go and do that. Before we finish, we're just going to talk about Team Synchro Racing, which is Synchro Gearbox's Ultra 4 racing team, of which TSPEC TV is a sponsor. And this time we actually have a bit of footage to show you as well. I believe this is from their run at King of Britain in the, I think this is qualifying in this footage here. And we don't have much to say. I'm not even sure what the results were from this event, other than I think they've been quite pleased with how things have been going. I know that the vehicle has been taken apart again. They're basically rebuilding it for the next event. I think they were doing some kind of an endurance thing next, or whether that's happened, I'm not quite sure. We're a bit behind on the events of Team Synchro Racing. But make sure you go follow them on Facebook and Instagram to follow what is going on. The folks over at Synchro Gearboxes are really, really cool people. And I have a bit of a story to tell you about this as well, which I absolutely love. I don't know if I told you this. I can't remember now.
I don't think I have.
I haven't told you about the story with the keyring.
No.
Okay, then you're gonna like this. This is really cool. But basically, Shabs, I was talking to him on Facebook. Shabs is the owner of Synchro Gearboxes and Team Synchro Racing. But as a sponsor, we sent them over some stickers and some key rings and things. They can put some stickers on the car and just some goodies and things from TSPEC TV. But basically, this Ultra 4 race car they have, it doesn't have keys to start. So the key ring, they didn't need it for keys. So they just put the key, like I think it's, I don't know what it's attached to, but they just put it on the dash, just as a little, whatever decoration thing. So they have a TSPEC TV key tag sitting on the dash of this car. And I think it was at the King of Britain event, they were, I think in the race, they lost, the bonnet pins, the pins that hold the bonnet. They lost a bonnet pin. So on a lot of race cars, you have pins basically that hold the bonnet down, so you can just open it without having to use a latch or anything like that. You can just open it straight from the outside. And they lost a bonnet pin during the race, and they used the keyring to secure the bonnet instead of the pin. So they just put the keyring through the hole instead. And so a TSPEC TV keyring basically saved the day during this race instead of the pin, and saved the day, and is now considered their lucky keyring or lucky pin, was what they told me. But I thought that was such a cool story.
It is.
That
it's quite cool.
Yeah, just that a TSPEC TV keyring kind of saved the day for them. And there's a bit of a story behind that. And you can get your very own TSPEC TV key tags as well if you go to tspectv.com, as well as a variety of TSPEC TV stickers with more merch to come in the future, as well as Tough Rock TSPEC TV mic flaps, must forget those. So you can get your own TSPEC TV merch over at tspectv.com. But that is Team Synchro Racing. We'll be following them more in the future, and no promises yet, but at least one of us should be at LRO this year as well, if not both. And then we'll be meeting up with Synchro Gearboxes as we usually do, and they should have the car with them, I believe is what Shabs told me. And if they do, then we'll be doing a little piece, Shabs will show us around, we'll do a little video about the car, talking about the build and giving us a little tour around it. So expect more content about Team Synchro Racing in the future. And lastly for this episode, this is a fan submission, which it didn't actually get submitted. I came across it on Instagram the other day and asked if we could use it for this episode, and Eric kindly obliged. Basically, Eric Timmermans, I don't know if I pronounced that right, sorry if I haven't, because I believe you're from Holland.
Yeah.
And Eric has just acquired a Land Rover Series 1. It's a 1954 107-inch Series 1, quite a rare body style. But the really interesting thing about this is that it has come all the way from Australia. So if you ever complained about buying a new car and then having to drive 3 hours to pick it up, think about living in the Netherlands and ordering your car from Australia. But it's made quite an interesting journey. It's travelled from Australia to China to the Suez to the UK and then to the Netherlands. So it's travelled all the way back. Like I said, from 1954, so it's lived a long, long life, and I don't have the rest of the pictures on here. I got them on my phone, I think.
Well, I think he said he had two other owners before he got it as well. And it's pretty much just been living in a farm where it's been used to drive around and put, fences up and stuff in the outback. That's pretty cool. The thing about that is just they haven't done anything else than that the last many years.
Yeah.
And completely as it stands is just original from you know, from top to bottom. And I spoke to him as well, and he said he's going to keep it that way. He's going to do minor things to it, just, you know, keep it running, but he's gonna keep, you know, the history of it. So I'm pretty happy with that. He's not going to completely restore it and, you know, take off the old paint and put some other modern day things onto it. But that's a nice way of doing it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really, really cool story, and it's so cool that this it's been working. It's been a workhorse its entire life. It's done exactly what it was built to since 1954 on the other side of the world in Australia, and then rather than just being scrapped or used for spare parts or whatever, someone's bought it and brought it back home and is actually going to keep it and love it and all that. And like you said, I love that it's not going to be modified. It's not going to be completely fully restored. It's just going to be looked after, cleaned up a bit and all that. And I think it's just, I love the story behind this, that it's kind of got a new home. I think it's so cool. And it's something with cars in general. I mean, we're both petrol heads through and through, but with Land Rovers especially, Land Rovers are always like, they're like a pet or a member of the family or something. You can't just like get rid of them. No. There's more of a connection to them. So for this to be, it's almost like it's going into retirement. It's like an old dog that's, you know, having a relaxing retirement somewhere in the countryside. And so best of luck to Eric. We'd love to see more of this and hear about how it goes, and you can give us updates, and we'll happily feature them on social media and on here on Garage Talk as well. And I can imagine, being in Australia, it's probably quite clean. Like, it's probably not rusty or not that rusty compared to if it was living in somewhere in Europe, because, you know, Australia, so it's probably been kept quite dry, and that as a result hopefully rust free. So best of luck from TSPEC TV. Would you dare put a TSPEC TV sticker on it though? That's the one modification. We'll send you a sticker if you dare to put one on Bruce the 107, so let us know. Anyway, that is about it from this episode of Garage Talk, unless you have anything else to add.
No, not really.
So we're going to end here. It's getting quite warm in here, so I think we shall end. Be sure to follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter for constant updates on what we're getting up to, exclusive pictures, videos, etc. and so on. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future, and leave a like if you enjoyed. And don't forget to send us in pictures or videos of whatever you've been working on. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.